Okay, today I'm going to attempt to make a table saw sled for this table saw. And I've already been doing some measurements with my micrometer, and what I found is these slots in the table are tapered. So it's going to be a little more difficult to, I guess, cut the pieces for this. But anyway, I've got a nice piece of maple here that I'm going to make the runners out of. And I see that the grain is running this way, so I'm going to have to cut 3/4 inch pieces out of this and then taper them so that they just fit inside here. Anyway, I'm going to get that process rolling. Well, let's see, the first step is we got to make sure this blade is perpendicular. So now we're going to have to tilt it using this gadget. Go ahead and zero this out. There we go. Okay, so now I've done the math for these slots, and it looks like from dead vertical, one side of it is off by 1.73 degrees. So we're going to rotate this until we get 1.7. And there we go. Okay, I think this one piece of maple is thick enough that if I split it down the middle, I can get my 2 runners out of it. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and cut the bevel on just one side of each piece of this wood. Okay, so I've already marked my bevel side with an X, and then I just simply flip it around so I can start cutting the other side. Anyway, let's see if I can get the first cut close. Okay, I just measured that cut, and it would appear that the wood is right about 0.810. So I need to take off, let's see, 10, 20, 30, about 40 thousandths. I think I'll do that in a few steps. So let's move the fence over about 20 thousandths. So I'm just going to set my gauge down here on the table. And let's see here, I need to, I guess, hold this part firm with a piece of wood so it doesn't move. And then I'll just bump it over about 20 thousandths. There we go. Okay, so this is the first one I cut, and if I try to hold it dead even here, you can see it slides pretty easily. And it doesn't have much, if any, side-to-side wiggle. And yeah, due to the tapered nature, if I press it down in there, it gets kind of stuck, depending on where you press it. So that's why it has to stay even with the surface. Here's the second one I cut, and it's a little tighter, so I may take some sandpaper to it just to get it a little bit more free. Okay, I found a piece of 1/2 inch decent plywood. Hopefully that'll be good enough for this project. And I've decided to go with 20 inches deep by 30 inches wide. I cut a couple of pieces of 2x4 to 30 inches long, and I flattened this side on the joiner, and I've made sure this is nice and 90 degrees using the table saw. So now it's time to attach these to my 1/2 inch piece of wood. So that's going to involve some clamps and some screws. I'm going to put the rear 2x4 on first because it doesn't really have to be square. I'm not going to be using it as a reference. So the only thing I have to pay attention to is this is going to sit about like this, flipped over of course. So I want to avoid putting anything where the blade might go. So I've marked it here to avoid that area. So now let's go ahead and put some screws in this. got a little tiny 1/8 of an inch channel on the side here for sawdust, because this is going to be the piece that I reference from. Before I attach the rear piece here, I'm going to attach the two runners and go ahead and make a cut. That way I can kind of roughly square the rear fence to whatever cut is made. Okay, I got the runners running pretty good, so now it's time to put our initial cut through here, but I'm going to stop short of the back so it doesn't fly apart. I was going to take this little T-slot cutter here and use a bolt, and I'm going to put the T-slot right across this here so that I can slide this bolt anywhere and have a permanently fixed stop block for making repeated cuts. Okay, there I've cut my waste away. Now it's time to get our T-slot in there and make that. I've already pre-drilled and countersunk the holes for these two screws, and we're just doing two for now because we're eventually going to use one as a pivot to fine-tune the square. According to my square, this looks pretty square. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since this will fit a 16-inch piece of wood, I'm going to get a 16-inch piece and make the 4 cuts and then measure the error. Okay, we've got our piece of wood that we're going to test. So, let's get it in position. All we need to do is take off the slightest bit off the side, then rotate, cut, rotate, cut, rotate, cut, and then go back to the beginning and take off, I don't know, about an inch or so. And then we're going to measure the difference between this side and this side. Okay, so let's hold that down right there, and let's go ahead and start this. I am just about butchering the underside of this with holes as I try to do micro adjustments. So I'm going to not do that anymore. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to put this bolt in the bottom. That way I can just have a nut on the top. And so I'll just oversize this hole a little bit and I'll fit the bolt tight in the bottom. And maybe that'll make it a little easier to adjust. Let's get the bolt ready. I've already oversized the hole in the bottom there, so now I just want to scribe the bolt head because I intend to chisel it out. Well, I just got done fitting this together, and I made another 4 cut, and I measured it, and this side measured about 675, and this side measured about 680. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's only about 1/1000th of an inch off when you divide by 4. So I would say this is square enough. So now it's just, I got to put a few screws in the bottom, and this will be fixed. I've gotten the slot nice and freed up. As long as I don't twist the bolt, it doesn't get jammed up. So now it is time to make a piece of wood to go against here. So I found this, I guess plywood, I don't even know what kind it is. So I'm going to square this up and make a piece just tall enough to fit here. Time to fit this together. Let's see if this works. If I drilled my hole at the right location, looks like I did. Not the fanciest stop block, but it'll work. Alright. Okay, other than perhaps adding a little bit of wax to the runners, I would consider this project done. So I'm going to say farewell, and I thank you for watching.